Hello everybody. For this video, I'll be guiding you through a quick introduction to a tool called Zotero, along with doing the basics of some citation management. First, we need to download and install the software. This can be done at zotero.org. Here, I've pulled up the website. So, why are we using this software specifically? Well, Zotero is free and open source, so it doesn't cost you anything to download it or use it. Also, you'll be able to keep using this software after you graduate from CMU. It will continue to be useful or helpful for you on future projects or other organizational needs that you might have. So, to begin, let's download the software. This tool works on most software platforms, so if you use a Mac, Windows, or Linux, you're probably good to go. Click the red download button here in the middle of the page, and it will redirect us to a downloads page. On the left-hand side, this is where we can download the software. It should automatically detect what operating system you're using. If it's not showing the correct type, you can click Other Platforms to choose which one you need. I already have Zotero installed on my computer, so I won't be demonstrating the specific steps for installation. Follow your usual process of installing software, but if you have any trouble, you can click on this link for installation help. It has information for each type of operating system. Once you install Zotero, come back to this webpage. The second thing you want to do is install this browser plugin, this Zotero connector. To do that, click this Install Connector button. Again, this should automatically detect what browser you're using. If you're using a different browser than what is displayed here, you can click the Connectors for Other Browsers button. It's worth mentioning that this only installs the plugin for the web browser you're currently using. If you like using several different browsers on your computer, you'll need to come to this web page and install the Zotero connector for every different browser you like to use. Once you do both of these steps, we're almost ready to start. If you scroll further down on the web page, there is a Browse Plugins link. This will take you to a web page that's filled with other productivity plugins developed by the Zotero community. But we're not going to cover any of those in this video since we don't need them to get started. If you're curious and would like to explore further, feel free to do so. Our last step is to make a free account. If we go back to the top of the web page and look in the top right corner, we can click the Register link. Now, on this page, please make an account with your CMU email address. An account will give you online syncing of your Zotero library. This means you'll have a backup if anything happens to your computer, and also, it syncs your resources across multiple devices if you're using Zotero on several computers. But most importantly, by using your CMU email, while you're a student, you have unlimited cloud storage with Zotero. Unfortunately, once you graduate, the unlimited storage does go away, but that's the only thing that changes with Zotero once you graduate. If you have any questions about that, feel free to let us know. But we don't need to worry about that right now, because since we've completed these 3 steps, we're ready to begin. Let's launch Zotero. The first thing we need to do is configure a few settings. Most likely, you only need to do this once, because once you set this up, you won't need to make many changes after that. Head to your settings or preferences. The term might differ based on your operating system, but what you're looking for is a window that looks similar to mine. From the options on the top, click the Sync option. Here, we want to link the account that we just made on the Zotero website to our Zotero here on the computer. I already have my account linked, but what you'll likely see is some type of an option that says login or link or gives you space to type in your account credentials. Once you do that step, you should see your username, just like mine, and your screen will look like this. I like to have the sync automatically and sync full text buttons both enabled. I also like to turn on the file syncing options at the bottom for attachments. Since I have unlimited cloud storage, I like having everything, even the PDFs, automatically synced to all of my computers. However, if you prefer to save space on your devices, uncheck the file syncing options for the attachments here at the bottom. If you do this, your Zotero library will still sync the important stuff, just not any of the PDFs. So in other words, you'll still be able to create your bibliographies, see your citations, if you leave the top two turned on, and those are the most important ones. So make sure those are turned on. The next thing we want to verify is that the Microsoft Word plugin is also installed. Normally, this is automatically installed when we do the first installation of Zotero, but we just want to double check to be sure. Click the Site tab. Then, click the Word Processors sub-tab. Here we can see I already have the plugin for Microsoft Word installed, as indicated by this message. If you don't see this, I would click whatever button is in this section and follow any steps if there are any. And then once you're done, this window should update and look similar to what my screen displays. There are other tabs of settings, as we can see here at the top, but most likely you don't need to change any of those. If you're curious, feel free to poke through and make any changes you would like, but that won't be necessary for right now. Now we're ready to use Zotero for some work. Here I already have some things in my library, so I'd like to take a moment to explain what we're looking at and the basics of navigating the interface. On the left-hand side, we have our navigation panel. There are collections of libraries, a personal library and a group library. Inside of each library, there are folders, which Zotero calls collections. If I click the My Library tab, it shows me everything contained inside of it. If I click a collection, it shows me just the specific items I've placed in those areas. What's nice about Zotero is you can create a unique organizational structure that makes sense to you. And the platform is dynamic. So you can create, modify, or delete folders however you want. To create a collection, look towards the top area of the navigation panel. Click the left button, which looks like a folder with a plus icon. Here, you can enter in whatever name you want, and it will create a new collection. Let's create one named CMU Africa. And then maybe I want to create another folder, perhaps for a new project or a specific class. If I right-click CMU Africa, I can then create a new sub-collection, like this. Let's name it Orientation. If I want to rename it, I can right-click it and change the name. If I wanted to delete something, I could right-click it, and then I have two options. One of which deletes just the folder. The other also deletes the items contained inside of it. Be careful what you choose because you don't want to accidentally delete your items. However, if you accidentally delete something you didn't mean to, you can click into the trash folder. You can then restore an item by right-clicking it and select Restore to Library. Let's try adding something to our library. When you're doing research or using databases, you're probably keeping track of the materials you find, especially if you're going to use it in your paper and you need to create citations. Here in my web browser, I have 3 articles that I've accessed and I find helpful for my imaginary research paper. I'm going to need to cite them later, and I want to add them to my Zotero library. To do this, look at your browser toolbar. You probably have an icon on it somewhere that when you mouse over it, it will say Save to Zotero. It will probably look like a piece of paper, but the icon sometimes changes. Click the icon, and then it'll automatically save information about the article into Zotero. If you click the down arrow, it will let you change the save location. When you're done, you can click outside of the box. I'm going to save another 2 articles into Zotero really quickly. Now, when we return to Zotero, we can see that these 3 articles are saved in our library. If we click a record, we can access all of its citation information here on the right-hand side. Zotero automatically searches and pulls the various fields of information it needs to make citations. Things like the title, the author, the journal, what volume or pages this might have been. But I still recommend briefly checking these over, because sometimes Zotero can miss some pieces of information, in which case you can make any changes or corrections by clicking directly on those fields. You want to make sure these are filled out correctly, because when Zotero helps you make citations, it uses the information from these sections. If you click the down arrow next to a record, you can access its PDF or full text if it was able to be saved. This can be helpful since now you can access the article without needing to navigate to it through the internet. Instead, we have access to this right now on our computer. Also, if you want, you can click and drag the records to move them between folders. For example, this research paper subfolder is empty. If I go back to the CMU Africa folder, I can take all 3 of these and drag them into the research paper folder. And here we have them. Another thing you might find helpful is the ability to add notes. You can do this to help you keep track of any thoughts you're having about our research for future use. To do this, click the note icon in the middle of the toolbar. Then, you can click New Standalone Note. Here on the right-hand side, I'm starting to type whatever I find important about this article that I want to remember for later. And I'm going to drag it into the record to be kept with the citation. But now, for the grand finale, we are going to use Zotero to make citations. In the past, you've probably written citations by hand, which is a time-consuming process, especially if you have 30 or 40 citations. Zotero can do all of this at the click of a button. There are two ways that we can make citations. Here is the first way. When you select several citations, you can then right-click them to generate a bibliography. This window comes up, and it gives us a variety of citation styles to choose from. I'll choose IEEE since we might be working with some engineering materials. And then the output method, I'm choosing copy to clipboard so that I can paste it into my Microsoft Word document. I'll click OK. And now, when I go to Microsoft Word, I can then paste my clipboard. And here we have our 3 citations in IEEE format. The second way that you can use to generate citations and bibliographies can be done directly inside of Microsoft Word. So let me delete these 3 really quickly. Now, let's say hypothetically that you're writing a paper and you have lines that you need to cite. I've created a couple example lines here, and I need 3 citations for them. If we go to the top bar in Microsoft Word and select the Zotero tab, you can then click the Add/Edit Citation button. This will then come up with a window if it's the first time you're making a citation in this document. And it will ask you for your preferred citation style for this document. We'll be leaving IEEE format for this, again, for this example. Now we have a search bar. If you wish, you can start to type in the article title, author's name, or other identifying information into this bar to search. I find it easiest to click the down arrow at the Z icon, then select the classic view. It gives us a view of our library where we can select the specific article we want. I'll navigate to it, and then select it, and click OK. And now this has created an in-text citation. I'll repeat this process for the other 2 articles as well. Now that we have all 3 of our in-text citations, let's pretend this paper is complete and now we need to make our bibliography. Place your cursor where you would like to create a bibliography. Most likely this is at the end. And then click the Add Edit Bibliography button towards the top in Microsoft Word. It automatically creates and formats our bibliography based on the references we've used in our paper. So at the click of a button, we've saved ourselves a lot of time. You still want to skim the bibliography to make sure it came out okay. But what's really nice is that this bibliography automatically updates anytime you make changes to your paper. If you add, remove, or change the order of any of your in-text citations, this bibliography at the end will automatically reflect your changes. If you need to change the citation style of this document for any reason, you can do that by going to the Document Preferences here at the top. That original window shows up again, and now we can choose a different citation style. For this example, I will choose the APA format, and then the entire citation style of our research paper changes automatically to reflect this change. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it comes in handy, and I also hope you have a fantastic start to your semester.